Topic is orientation jaw relation, but now before starting with the jaw relation, I'm going to talk about customization of the occlusal rims. So first we are going to see customization of the occlusal rims. So we know that all the occlusal rims, they are prepared using the standard dimensions. So standard dimension are usually 24 and 20 for maxillary, and it is 18 and 2/3 of the retromolar pad for mandible. So we are making the occlusal rim according to these dimensions. So after that, what we are doing is we require modification in the occlusal rim so that it suits the patient, and this alteration, it should be done before recording the jaw relation, and even the orientation jaw relation, it is done after this orientation of the properly occlusal rims. So the occlusal rims, they are inserted into the patient's mouth. So they are inserted into the patient's mouth, and various factors are seen. So first is the lip support and labial fullness. So first we are seeing the lip support and labial fullness of the mouth. In this, what you're going to see is, so the occlusal rim, it should provide adequate lip support. Inadequate or excessive labial support, it will seriously affect the aesthetic of the denture. For example, now this is the case. So your rims, they should be made such that it is providing adequate fullness to the lips. And next is the overjet. Now what is this overjet? So overjet is basically nothing but it is the vertical overlapping of the maxillary and the mandibular teeth. So the maxillary occlusal rim, it should be around 2 mm ahead of the mandibular rim. So basically this is the case. For example, now I have an occlusal rim. So this is the occlusal rim. In this case, what you'll see is, now this is the case where you want the exact thing. So the overjet, it should be around 2 mm. So your maxillary, it is way only 2 mm ahead of the mandible. Now these are like the cases. Now this is the case of class 3, in which you are making occlusal rim such that this mandible is ahead of the maxilla, and we don't want this case. And there can be another case in which there is excessive overjet. So this is the case like a class 2 case. So there is more than 2 mm of this overjet, and we don't want this. So the overjet, it should be ideally, it should be 2 mm. And this is the case where you need to prepare your occlusal rim as. Then the next is the cheek support and the buccal fullness. And the next, second one was your overjet. Third one is the cheek support and the buccal fullness. So in this case, now buccally, it should be made adequately. If this buccal portion, if it has more like wax, then it will cause cheek biting, and we don't want that. But now in this case, like buccal fullness is not as important as labial fullness for aesthetic, but yet it should be made properly. Then the next is the level of the occlusal rims. So what is the level of the occlusal rim? So in level of occlusal rim, so your upper occlusal rim, it should be like your, this is, suppose for example, this is your lip. So basically it's like your occlusal rim is made 2 mm short of the upper lip, and in mandible, the lower lip, it is like at the same height of that of the occlusal rim, and posteriorly it is at the 2/3 of the occlusal rim. So this is the level of the occlusal plane, and the next one is the orientation of the plane of occlusal. So this is the main important thing that you are doing before doing the orientation jaw relation. That is the, so fourth one was the occlusal rims. So you are seeing the level of the occlusal planes, and the next one is the orientation of the plane of the occlusal rim. So in this, how they are oriented. So basically the orientation of it is done with the help of a ala tragus line. So this is your ear, and this is the tragus. So this is the line, so this is the nose. So the ala tragus line, it determines, so basically the orientation is made such that your maxillary, so the plane of maxilla, it is parallel to this ala tragus line, and this is done with the help of a Fox plane. So basically the plane of maxilla, it is determined anteriorly by the interpupillary line. So this is your eyes and this is the pupil. So the distance between these two pupils is your interpupillary line. So anteriorly, the plane of maxilla, it is determined this by this interpupillary line, and posteriorly it is determined by this ala tragus line, which is also known as camper line. So this is the ala tragus or camper line. Basically your Fox plane, it looks like this somewhat. So this is how your Fox plane looks like. So this is the bite fork, this is the inner rim, and these are the outer rims. So when you are placing your maxilla onto this, so your inner rim, it touches like this on the posterior part of your maxillary occlusal rim, and the outer rim, it comes outside the mouth. So it will come like this. So your occlusal rims, it will come like this, the outer rim of the Fox plane. Then what you're doing is, now the procedure, first you're marking this ala tragus line. So basically your ala tragus line is marked such that it is marked, your tragus, it is divided into three portions, that is the upper, middle and lower. So when you're marking your ala tragus line, so you're marking it like this. So it passes from this ala and it goes to this upper part of your tragus. So you're marking this ala tragus line, then you're placing this maxilla into the patient's mouth, and the position of the patient, it should be such that the chair, it is perpendicular to the floor. So your chair, it is completely upright, and the patient, he's asked to look at his toes. So this is the position of the patient, and then you're placing the maxilla, and after that you're placing the bite fork. So you're placing the Fox plane, and then you're seeing the parallelism of this maxillary plane to this ala tragus line. So there are three things which you can see. First is, for example, now if your anterior is more than the posterior, if your rim is like this and your ala tragus line, it was present like this over here. So what happens in this case, now your line, it will go like this in this. So now posteriorly it is short and anteriorly it is long. So in this case what you can do is, you just have to trim the anterior portion with the help of a hot plate, and then the line, it will come parallel to it. And in some cases there will be like your posteriorly it is more than anterior, so it will go like this. Your plane, it will go like this. So it is more in the posterior region, height is more in the posterior region. So you just have to trim from this part. You have to just remove the wax with the help of a hot plate, and then it will get parallel to it like this. So this is what we exactly want. Your outer rim, it should be parallel to this ala tragus line, and this is the orientation of the plane of the occlusal rim. Now starting off with the main topic, that is your orientation jaw relation. So jaw relation, it is any relation of the mandible to the maxilla, and it is given by glossary of prosthodontic term. So it is the relation of the mandible to the maxilla. So you have to remember this term. It is first relation of mandible. It is not maxillary relation to the mandible. It is mandible's relation to the maxilla. So jaw relation is divided into three types. So the three jaw relations which we do. First is the orientation, vertical and horizontal. So basically it is important, like we should realize that we are placing these dentures between two bones, and if this denture, it is not made in harmonious relation with this bone, then it will cause discomfort to the patient, and hence we are making this denture so that it is easy for the patient, and it is dependent on the patient's temporomandibular joint. So the jaw relations, first we are going to start with the orientation jaw relation. In this, the mandible, it is kept in its most posterior position. So this mandible, it is kept in its most posterior position so that it can rotate in its sagittal plane, around an imaginary transverse axis. So there is this imaginary transverse axis, and it can rotate around it through or near the condyle. So this is the definition for your orientation jaw relation. So basically this record, it gives the angulation of the maxilla in relationship to the base of the skull. So it is the maxillary angle with the base of the skull. So this is nothing but the angulation of the maxilla in relation to the base of the skull. Orientation jaw relation is usually done with the help of a face bow. So we are doing this orientation jaw relation with the help of a face bow. Now what is this face bow? So face bow, it was given by Snow in 1802. So face bow, it is nothing but it is a caliper like device. So it is a caliper like device which is used to record the relationship of the maxilla and or the mandible to the temporomandibular joint. So it is used to record the relationship of the maxilla and mandible to temporomandibular joint. So with the help of this instrument, you are like recording the relationship of the maxilla and mandible to the temporomandibular joint. So first we are going to see what are the parts of face bow. So now the structure and the functioning of the face bow, it should be thoroughly learned to perform accurate orientation jaw relation. So basically this face bow, it has three sections. So the first section is this U-shaped frame, and it represents the plane of the cranium. So this is a U-shaped frame, it represents the plane of the cranium. Then the next section is this bite fork, it represents the plane of the maxilla. So this bite fork, you're placing it like we are doing for the bite. So when we are doing this orientation of the occlusal rim, in that we are using fork's plane. So in that case, again the bite fork, it goes and sits like this on the maxilla. So this is the same thing, this bite fork, it goes and sits like this on the maxilla. So this is the second section, and it represents the plane of the maxilla. And the third section is this locking device, which locks this bite fork to this U frame. So first the parts is, this is a U-shaped frame. Second is the condylar rod. So there are these condylar rods which are present in some cases. Then there is this bite fork, the locking devices. Then this is the orbital pointer. This is the orbital pointer, it points the orbit. So first we are going to describe about this U-shaped frame. So this U-shaped frame, it is a metallic frame. It is type of a metallic frame that forms a main frame of the face bow. Now all the other components, they are attached to this U-shaped frame with this locking device. And the assembly, it is large enough to extend from the region of the TMJ to at least 2 to 3 inches anterior to the face. So this face bow, so this U-shaped frame, it is way too big, so you can easily assemble it properly from the TMJ, and it is like around 2 to 3 inches ahead, so anteriorly on the face. And next is the condylar rod. So basically there are these two small metallic rods on the either side of the free end of this U-shaped frame, and it contacts the skin over the TMJ. So they help to locate the hinge axis or the opening axis of the TMJ. So they transfer the hinge axis of the TMJ by attaching to the condylar shaft. So basically it's like certain face bow, they do not have this condylar rod, and instead they have a earpiece. So this is a earpiece, and instead of this earpiece there's this condylar rod which is present, and in some cases you will see this earpiece. This earpiece, it will go into the ear of the patient. So the face bows that have condylar rod to record the true hinge axis, they are called as kinematic, and the face bow they do not record the true hinge axis, they are known as arbitrary face bow. So arbitrary face bow are the main ones that we are using actually. Then next one is the bite fork. So bite fork, it is this thing. So it is a U-shaped plate, and it is attached to the occlusal rim while recording the orientation jaw relation. So you are attaching this bite fork on this occlusal rims like this, and while you are recording this orientation jaw relation, so it is attached to the frame. So this bite fork, it is attached to the frame with the help of a locking device. So this bite fork, it should be inserted about 3 mm below the occlusal surface within the occlusal rims. So some suggest that this bite fork, it can be inserted in any depth. So basically what you're doing in this case, you make a shallow depression on this, and then you're placing this bite fork into this 3 mm. Then the next is the locking device. So locking device is the face bow. So the parts of the face bow, it helps to attach the bite fork to the U-shaped frame. This also supports the face bow, occlusal rim and the cast. So basically it consists of a transfer rod and a transverse. So there is this transfer and transverse. So there are two types of rod, transfer and transverse rod. So the U-shaped frame, it is attached to the vertical transfer rod, and the position, it can be locked with the help of a thumb screw. So this is the vertical, this is the transfer, and this is the transverse. So this is transfer, transverse is the horizontal, and transfer is this vertical locking plate. So these are the different parts of it. And the next one is the orbital pointer. So orbital pointer, it is designed to mark the anterior reference point, that is the infraorbital notch, and it can be locked in position with the clamp. So this is your orbital pointer, and it is used to mark the point. So this is like a reference point. You're using this as a reference point at the infraorbital notch. Now there are various types of face bow. So face bows, they are divided, so they're classified into two types. One is kinematic and the next one is arbitrary. So as we have seen in condylar rod, so the one of the FACEBOWS which have condylar rod and they mark, like they record the true hinge axis, they are known as kinematic, and the arbitrary ones, they do not like record the true hinge axis. So these are the arbitrary ones. So yeah, arbitrary ones are the fascia type, earpiece type, Hanau FACEBOW. Then there are various whip mix, Geissy FACEBOW. So these all are the various types of arbitrary FACEBOW, and the ones which we are using are the arbitrary, that is the Hanau's FACEBOW. So I'm going to explain how you're going to record the jaw relation using this Hanau FACEBOW. And we are not using this kinematic because the procedure of this kinematic, it is very complex, and because of that we are not using it. And it can be used in cases of fixed partial dentures and when there is full mouth rehabilitation. Recording the orientation jaw relation with the help of this Hanau FACEBOW. So first point is the patient, he is asked to sit in a comfortable position and the head of the patient, it is upright and it is rested on the headrest. Then next is a point which is 13 mm in front of the auditory meatus, it is marked. So this point is usually marked on the line which is running from the outer canthus. So this is the outer canthus of the eye to the superior border of the tragus. So first what you're doing is, there is this line on the superior border of the tragus. So you draw a line from the outer canthus to the superior line of the tragus, superior border of the tragus, and then a point, it is marked 13 mm in front of the auditory meatus. So you're marking a point which is 13 mm in front of it. So you're marking a point. Then next thing is, then you're making a notch which is 2 mm deep in the first molar region on the maxillary occlusal rim, and it helps to position the bite fork. So for example, this is your occlusal rim and this is the area for your first molar, for example. So basically you are making a 2 mm notch over here, so that when you are placing a bite fork, it goes and sit properly over here. Then you place the mandibular occlusal rim. So then you are placing this mandibular occlusal rim and you're reducing this mandibular occlusal rim so that there is this space for that bite fork to accommodate into it. The next point is, then the U-shaped frame of the FACEBOW along with the condylar rod, it is positioned on the patient. Then you are like positioning the U-shaped frame into the patient's mouth. Then the condylar rod, they are moved and they are placed on the posterior reference point, and that is your this 13 mm point which is marked in front of the auditory meatus. So this is your posterior reference point. So the condylar rod, it is moved such that it is placed on this posterior reference point, and then it is locked with the U-shaped frame. Then after that what you're doing is you're using a aloe wax. Then the aloe wax, it is softened and it is shaped in the form of a horseshoe. So you're softening that aloe wax and you're like placing it in the form of a horseshoe with the bite fork. So this bite fork, so there was this bite fork which is present. So the bite fork, it is, so this aloe wax, it is placed on this bite fork and it should not be more than 6 mm. So the height of this wax and this bite fork, it should not be more than 6 mm. Then the next point is a thin layer of petroleum jelly. It is applied on both the occlusal rim. So you are applying a thin layer of petroleum jelly on both this occlusal rim so that they can easily separate. And the next is the maxillary and the mandibular occlusal rims. So these rims, they are inserted into the patient's mouth. Then the bite fork with the wax, it is inserted into the patient's mouth. So after that, first you have inserted this occlusal rim into the patient's mouth. Then the bite fork, which is covered with this aloe wax, it is like inserted into the mouth. The midline of the bite fork, it should coincide with the midline of the occlusal rim. So this is the midline of your occlusal rim. So the midline of the bite fork, it should coincide with this midline of the occlusal rim. Then the patient, he is asked to close his mouth till both the occlusal rim, it gets embedded into this bite fork. So the patient, he is asked to close his mouth so that the bite fork which is placed between these two, it gets embedded properly. So the patient is asked to close his mouth so that this bite fork, it is embedded into this rims. Then the stem on the bite fork is locked to the transverse rod of the, then you are locking it with the locking device. Then any alteration in the position of the condylar rod, it should be checked so that now your condylar rod, it should be present at this 13 mm only, and it is checked whether it is not moved or anything. Then the next is, now the infraorbital notch, it is palpated. So you are palpating the infraorbital notch. So you are palpating the infraorbital notch. and the orbital pointer. So you know there was this orbital pointer which was present. So now this orbital pointer, it is made to touch this infraorbital notch and it is locked in position with the U-shaped frame. Then this entire face bow assembly along with the occlusal rim is removed from the mouth and it is positioned in an articulator, and this is how you record your orientation jaw relation as. Now in next videos I'm going to talk about the vertical, and after that about the horizontal, that is the centric jaw relation. And this was it.
Thank you so much.